Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them. Hello and thanks for watching. Today I found this video on the Red Pen Logic YouTube channel, and the title of that video is "She Completely Missed His Argument Against Abortion." It's about a woman having a debate with Michael Knowles about abortion. I'm going to try to be polite here in reviewing that video, but given some of the horrible statements that both Red Pen Logic and Michael Knowles have made in public, that's going to be challenging for me. But let's give it a try.
The woman in this abortion debate with Michael Knowles completely misses the argument.
Well, it's already hard for me to believe that you're in a position to judge any of that. You worship a God who you believe killed 1 million unborn babies by slowly and deliberately drowning their mothers in a planned and systematic manner. If your God exists, he's one of the biggest mass abortionists in history, and you choose to be a fan of his. So if there is anyone missing the point about abortion, it is Christian apologists like yourself.
Let's watch carefully and break down the logic.
My very narrow point on abortion is that we should not kill innocent babies in the womb or out of the womb.
Well, that is exactly what you believe that your God did. So if you think that that is wrong, then you should stop worshipping your God. That is one of the reasons why I don't worship your God, apart from there not being a good reason to believe that he exists in the first place. But if he were to exist, experts like yourself believe that your God killed 1 million babies. Stop worshipping your God if you think that that is wrong. And Red Pen Logic, why don't you bring this about? You just said that you were going to carefully watch this debate and break down the logic, but apparently you only do that if it suits your own narrative.
Fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
It's a baby once it's alive. By science, which you love.
The word fetus just means offspring.
All right, quick pause for clarification. Michael Knowles says baby. She corrects him with fetus. So it's not baby killing, it's fetus killing. But this really doesn't help. That's because in either case, it's human killing.
Well, if you think that that is a problem, then why do you praise, worship and celebrate a God who obviously doesn't care about human life whatsoever, and according to your Bible book, kills human beings by the millions?
You see, baby and fetus refer to the stages of human development. There's a fetal stage, just like there's a toddler stage or a teenage stage. In other words, a human fetus is a human being at the fetal stage of human development, just like a teenager is a human being at the teenage stage of human development.
Oh, really? A teenager and a fetus are both human beings, but just in a different stage? No, that of course is total BS. What do you think? Teenagers are mostly in the TikTok stage. They like to listen to Taylor Swift. What keeps them up at night? Stuff like schoolyard bullies and having exams. But what do you reckon is the social media of choice for a fetus? Is it Facebook? Are they into Billie Eilish? Just a bit of a different stage compared to teenagers? What are these fetuses worried about? Climate change? What do you think? No, of course. A fetus does not have musical preferences, and there is nothing that keeps them occupied. That is because a fetus is not a human being, but just in a different stage relative to a teenager. Note that most abortions are carried out before the fetus stage. Yes, the majority of abortions are performed on embryos. An embryo is not a human being. It's a cluster of growing human cells of less than 1 inch. It has the size of a kidney bean. It doesn't have a functioning brain, and it doesn't feel or experience anything. It has no consciousness whatsoever. But for the sake of this video, let's stick to the term fetus. And I don't say it doesn't have value. If all goes well, it's going to be a human being in the future, and that's amazing. But a fetus is not a human being, but just in another stage than a teenager. That's a ridiculous idea.
To avoid this confusion, Michael could simply say, we should not kill innocent human beings in the womb, or out of the womb.
But that, of course, doesn't take away confusion. It creates more confusion. Because an embryo is biologically not a human being. It's a cluster of human cells. And an early fetus is also biologically not a human being. But it will slowly develop into a human being with organs, feelings, and experiences. Science has a hard time defining where the exact border between a cluster of human cells and a human being should be positioned. That is because such a border does not exist. It's a gradual process. Therefore, most countries choose for the safe option and prohibit on request abortion after 12 weeks of pregnancy. And after that, women end up in complicated procedures and regulations if they still think that abortion is needed. But as soon as a fetus developed into a small human being with brains, feelings, and experiences, I am all for treating them as a human being and give them all subsequent human rights. Now that we're at it, why don't we do the same thing for gay people and trans people? You might need to rewrite your Bible for that and remove the part about stoning gay people to death. But that, of course, would be a small price to pay if you're in favor of not killing innocent people. But I'm all for not killing human beings altogether, both the innocent and the not so innocent. Because what does that even mean, innocent? That seems like a rather vague and risky phrasing. Let's not play that word game. Because before you know it, some dictator or a god comes along who says, "You're not innocent, and you're not innocent according to my book, and therefore I can kill you at will because I'm all-knowing and just." It is hard to overstate the atrocities and the disasters that could arise from that. So no, let's just stick to it's wrong to kill people. But if you're against killing people, you need to have a problem with your own God. Because if he were to exist, your God has been killing people left and right on a large scale and all the time. Your God is clearly not pro-life. He is against life. He kills elderly people, women, children, babies, and unborn babies who haven't done anything wrong to anyone. The only thing they're guilty of is existing, and your God just drowns all of them because he's angry at some of them for the fact that they exist, which was caused by your God himself in the first place. And it's not like your God had no choice but to kill 1 million babies, because you believe that he is the all-powerful and all-knowing creator of everything. Upon creation, your God already knew that he was going to kill everyone later on, so that was his own choice upon creation. He could have chosen to create a world in which he wouldn't kill everyone later on. But he didn't. So killing people is what your God prefers. If you now say it's wrong to kill people, it's time to take it to the streets and protest against your own God. Are you going to do that? Or are you like, I'm fine with my God drowning babies?
You don't want an abortion, which you don't seem to be able to have the ability to have a baby yourself. You don't have to get one. So therefore, choice. Can we agree on that?
Okay, this is a very common response you hear all the time. If you don't want an abortion, don't get one. It's your choice.
Yeah. Now, guess where that logic comes from? It comes from you and people like you, because the logic of this woman is almost an exact copy of the Christian free will argument. Your God says, "Worship me, or you will burn in the hell that I created for the specific purpose of forever torturing those who do not obey me." You don't want to worship me? You don't have to. Choice. This woman is copying your own free will argument, and it goes completely over your head.
Now, Michael is going to test the logic of this argument with an analogy. Watch this.
Well, you Christian apologists are notoriously bad at making analogies. Usually, you misrepresent the original statement, you make a false analogy, or you draw the wrong conclusions from your analogy. So yes, I will listen very carefully.
I'm not going to engage in an honor killing of my wife if she apostatizes from Islam, for instance. If a Muslim immigrant to America, as many have done actually, wants to kill his wife in an honor killing because she has apostatized from Islam, that's his business, right? And it's not your business, and stop sticking your nose in it.
What a totally bizarre, unrelated and irrelevant comparison that is. The lady didn't say that it's okay for people to kill their spouse. She was making a case for women's freedom of choice to have an abortion of a fetus. And again, in most cases, abortions are taking place when the fetus doesn't have a functioning brain yet. So the fetus cannot feel or experience anything. It's not a human being yet. And why are you Christian apologists so obsessed over abortions? Your own God invented the spontaneous abortion, also known as miscarriage. At least, that is what you Christians are supposed to believe. Isn't your God the designer of the female body? Well, then your God willingly and knowingly decided to design the female body with a built-in chance of spontaneous abortion. Apparently, your God likes it that way, or else he would have made other design choices. In the US alone, about 1 million spontaneous abortions occur each year. That is about the same as the number of induced abortions. If you're so much against abortion, are you also going to be angry at your God for inventing miscarriage?
I don't know how we got from abortion care to your fixation with Muslims, but we got there pretty quickly.
Michael is offering an argument from analogy. Instead of talking about killing a human fetus, he's talking about killing a human spouse. Then he applies the same rationale or principle to see if this argument works.
And it doesn't. Because in an honest comparison, you should not only apply the same principle, but also a similar case. And Michael Knowles pulls a case out of his behind that is in no way comparable to the case that the lady is making. How about not comparing a 1-inch cluster of growing human cells with no capacity to feel anything to a fully grown spouse, but instead compare the fetus to the separate sperm cell and the egg cell 8 weeks earlier before they combined? Because the sperm cell and the egg cell are also alive and human. They're also tiny and also cannot experience anything, just like an 8-week-old fetus. There you are, a much closer comparison. Now, if I would have wasted that sperm cell on some oral interaction with the lady downstairs, instead of arranging for it to meet with an egg cell, we also would have prevented a human being to be born in the future. Would that be my business? Yes, that would be my business, and you're not going to stick your nose in it.
Her principle is, if you don't like abortion, then don't do it. So Michael asks, would that logic work when it comes to killing your spouse?
No, again, that totally doesn't work, because the scale, scope, and consequences of aborting a fetus are totally different from the scale, scope, and consequences of ending the life of a fully grown human being. It really should not be complicated to understand why that is a completely false comparison. You don't seem to have any clue how comparisons work. In order for a comparison to work, the things you line up must be comparable. The word itself is kind of self-explanatory.
Unfortunately, she doesn't understand Michael's argument, or she just isn't interested in understanding it. Because why would you want to understand the people you disagree with, right?
This is the exact condescending attitude of red pen logic that we have learned to dislike him for. No, you cucumber fudge for brains. It's not that the lady does not understand Michael Knowles' argument, or that she's not willing to engage in different points of view. Why else would she be prepared to have a debate with a horrible character like Michael Knowles? In reality, Knowles just made a very bad argument that doesn't make any sense, and it's not her job to teach him how to make better arguments.
Michael's point is relevant to this conversation. He's testing her principle, her rule. If you don't like something, just don't do it.
Well, there you go. This is where you demonstrate your dishonesty. The point of the lady was not, if you don't like something, just don't do it. The point of the lady clearly was, if you don't like abortion, then don't do it. She never said or even implied that this was a general principle that would apply to every insane brain fart that Michael Knowles can produce. What Michael Knowles is doing here, and apparently you gladly support him in this, is pulling a good old Strawman argument fallacy. Michael Knowles presents a totally distorted version of the argument of this woman, and then pretends that the failure of his own fabricated fake argument makes her argument less valid. It doesn't. It's nonsense, and you know it.
Some choices are really wrong and should be prohibited. It's wrong to kill your spouse, and it's wrong to kill your unborn child for the exact same reason.
And no, of course, the same reasons do not apply whatsoever. As I said, an 8-week-old fetus biologically is a cluster of growing human cells of about 1 inch. That's the size of a kidney bean. It doesn't have a functioning brain or any other organs, and it cannot feel or experience anything, and the majority of abortions is carried out before that point in time. It's not a human being, but if we wait longer, it can slowly but surely become a human being in the future. But when it comes to scale, consciousness, awareness, and feeling, feelings, a fetus, or what we're really talking about here is an embryo, is much closer to the individual sperm cells and egg cells it was made of than it is to a human being.
This woman simply assumes the unborn is not a valuable human being, like the spouse in Michael's analogy. But if the unborn is a valuable human being, then if you don't like it, don't do it, completely misses the mark.
And again, you are misrepresenting this lady, and it's getting pretty offensive by now. Nowhere did you show that the lady says that a fetus or an embryo is not valuable. It is valuable, but biologically, it's not a human being, as should be abundantly clear by now. It has no functioning brain, and it has no capacity to experience or feel anything. The vast majority of abortions are carried out in that exact stage. It's ironic how Christian fundamentalists make a big deal out of biology when it comes to trans people, another topic that religion should stay away from. But when you're dealing with abortion, biology is no longer relevant to you. You pick and choose your principles to fit your medieval worldview, no matter the health consequences for the women involved. And this gets to the core of what I think is the hurtful and disrespectful hypocrisy of Christianity towards women who propose freedom of choice to have an abortion. Christian apologists often suggest that women who have abortions are promiscuous party animals who see a pregnancy as an inconvenient consequence of screwing around without protection. So they see abortions as some insignificant practical result of a fun package. No, that's not what abortion is about. In reality, to many women, abortion is a profound and also often deeply disturbing event that leaves mental and physical scars for a lifetime. They don't do abortions for fun. That suggestion can only come from ignorant idiots. Most abortions are connected to difficult circumstances in the lives of these women. Many women who choose to abort a pregnancy simply don't see another way out to get their lives back on track again. In some cases, the root causes of the abortion are to be found in serious social and medical conditions, or in relationships that are connected to violence, crime, and substance abuse. Every woman knows that abortion is a very serious matter, and you Christian apologists should know this, because the vast majority of women having abortions in North America are Christian women. Yeah, let that sink in. Having an abortion is such a serious matter that even your own women let their own health, future, and well-being prevail over your nonsensical religious dogmas. Maybe you guys should talk a bit more to Christian women who have abortions. But hey, why would you want to understand the people you disagree with, right? Thanks for watching.